Joining us now on Bucko Banter is newly acquired pitcher in the Pirates organization, Noah Murdock. You're listening to the Bucko Banter podcast, brought to you by the Just Baseball Media Network. Cue the music.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates. Order steak by the plate, send in case after case. Run my race at my pace, clear the grass of the snake.
Welcome back to another episode of Bucko Banter. Today we are joined by newly acquired pitcher for the Pirates, Noah Murdock. Noah, welcome on, man.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
No, we're just going to jump right into it, man. You've had a unique journey here. You got drafted out of high school, chose to sign with UVA, go to UVA. Talk about how that all transpired and what you learned from playing ball at a prestigious school and a prestigious program like UVA.
Yeah, I actually think there's some parallels between this last year and coming out of high school and choosing to go to college instead of the draft. I was not prepared at all for what pro ball had to offer. Some of the stories and the advice that I'd gotten kind of led me to the college choice, and it ended up being a pretty good one. UVA, being a kid that came from Virginia, was definitely a destination school for me. I got pretty lucky in my junior year. End of my junior year, they had ended up going to the College World Series and won it. So having a team that, and I committed before they had gone, so having a team that was successful, could churn out some pretty good pro prospects, was something I was looking forward to. So heading into college, was not the biggest kid either. So that was another big decision going into whether I take the draft or go to college. I was probably same height, 6'7", 6'8", but I was probably.
I was going to say you're 6'8", man. What are you talking about? Not the biggest kid.
Yeah, I mean, I was big in one way, but it's just like at 160 pounds, it's not built for the real world yet. So going to college was the best choice.
Get drafted in 2019 by the Royals and then almost immediately miss an entire season because of the pandemic. How do you feel like that transition was from college to pro ball and then having that obstacle thrown at you and then trying to bounce back to get back in the groove of things?
Yeah, it was super unique. Like that's definitely the longest time that I've personally have gone without playing baseball other than having a Tommy John surgery early in my college career. But it was weird because in 2019, after getting drafted, they still had rookie ball, like the low level at the time. So I got shipped out to rookie ball, had a really good summer campaign there. So kind of building up some momentum. And then, that season didn't happen. So you kind of think that, everyone talks about, I want to get to the big leagues as fast as I can. I have that type of season. I'm like, wow, I'm on the fast track. Like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. Coming off like a little bit of a shaky junior year in college, I'm like, this is great, until it wasn't, and the pandemic happened. And luckily, from the success I had in 2019, I got invited to Major League Spring Training in 2021, and I got hurt in Major League Spring Training. And that kind of started the bumps in the road of this journey to get to where I am today.
No, a week from tomorrow, we've got the 2025 Rule 5 draft down in Orlando at the winter meetings. Adam and I will actually be there and excited to see that in person. But you were selected last year in the Rule 5 draft. You were selected by the A's and then returned to the Royals. The Rule 5 draft is just a unique process altogether. And I don't think a lot of maybe casual baseball fans understand how it exactly works. But talk about going through that, going to the A's, getting selected to the opening day roster, and then returning to the Royals. What was that all like last year?
Yeah, the Rule 5 is a crazy process. It's absolutely needed for the talent that gets selected in that draft. But I came off of one of the best years I had in minor league baseball in 24, splitting time between AA and AAA. And I kind of had that same feeling as I did in 2019. Like, wow, this is it. Like, this is the year that I get added to the roster on the 40-man, and I can start trying to make that climb to the 26-man roster. So the season had ended, and we had gotten word from the Royals that I was not going to be selected prior to that deadline to protect guys from the Rule 5. So I think there was a little feeling in me like, man, like, I feel like I have the talent to be on somebody's roster. Maybe the Rule 5 draft is something that would suit a player like me. And it's funny enough, I'm with my wife in the car, and she was adamant about it. And she started doing some research on the type of players that got selected in this draft. And she's like, you are like a perfect fit. Like you have a little bit of a command issue, but you've got the stuff that everyone is saying will play at the big league level. Like I think somebody's going to give you a shot. And sure enough, on that day, I get a couple texts from my agent like 10 minutes before the draft. And he doesn't know anything, but he's like, I have a feeling like something might happen. Just kind of stay tuned. So we threw the draft on and watched it, and fourth pick rolls around, and it just felt like the longest pause between the Athletics are on the clock and then the guy saying my name. And I was just, I mean, I started freaking out. I'm like, wow, it's happening. Like I'm on a roster, and not just the 40-man roster. I mean, you're on the 26-man roster, assuming you make the team out of spring. So it definitely just a crazy experience. And then, yeah, it led to an interesting year this year, to say the least.
Talk about going, obviously, like you mentioned, you make the opening day roster with the A's, which is already a unique situation in and of itself over there with the Athletics in Sacramento. But just hopping from, low A, double A, triple A, and then to pro ball, what are the major differences you see going from level to level? Because we hear from a lot of guys, there's the biggest jump from triple A to Major League Baseball that we've seen in a long time. Can you kind of walk through your personal experience with those jumps?
So starting with low A, we didn't really have a low A season just because that probably would have been that 2020 season that we didn't have. So I started in high A in 21. I would compare high A very closely to ACC level play, a lot of college guys. So that was probably the most normal experience just because 3 years of college, you get that same similar level. High A to double A it was a decent jump. You start to see some prospects, like some top prospects. I think the talent level has a higher ceiling. So you'll find like 1 through 4 in the lineup are kind of like those guys that, they want to get at bats and are pretty big in their organizations. Um, Double A to triple A was pretty big. I think that's the underrated jump that people don't talk about much. You start to face up and down big leaguers. You start to face ex big leaguers that have 5+ years of time. So that's when you really start to see some experience level come into play, where it's not just talent versus talent. You have guys with talent that have experience that you have to be a little bit sharper with. So succeeding at the AAA level back in 24 was kind of a big confidence boost for me. And I'm sure is for a lot of guys when you can face those types of players and have success against them.
Absolutely. I mean, Noah, even at 6'8", you're one of the tallest pitchers in pro ball. How have you adjusted throughout your career as a guy with long levers, finding the right pitch mix? Is there pitches that you've added in pro ball or mechanical adjustments that you've made from the Royals to the A's?
Yeah, I get labeled a lot as a guy that struggles with command, and I think right to an extent, and a lot of it has to do with my height. There's a lot of moving parts mechanically that if you don't have the right people in your corner that can kind of keep you on track with things, it can spiral pretty quickly, especially mid-season. So um, I think my time through minor leagues has been very developmental, not just mechanically, but like you said, when it comes to adding pitches, it's like finding the right pitch mix for my release height or my extension and things like that. What I'm really excited about heading into this year is talking to some of the pitching guys already. It sounds like there's a pretty good plan when it comes to things mechanically to keep me a little bit more centered, which is great. And there are a couple new pitches in the mix, including a splitter, which I'm super excited about, and I think will complement my sinker really well, which is obviously one of my better pitches. So I think the key is, you go back and you look at, any stats from any of my years, and you're like, how is this guy still around? And it's like, well, I'm going to adapt. I'm going to always work on the command, but if command is going to be a little bit below average, I'm going to make sure I have some tools in my, in my shed to use that keep me really good, and keep my stuff really good to play it at the highest level.
I mean, even with your longer levers, I see even on your Baseball Savant page, like you get elite extension. It looks like your ball moves a lot horizontally. So I think just, focusing on those aspects, and even coming into an organization like the Pirates, like they're really known for developing arms. So I'm sure that's really exciting heading into this year as well.
Absolutely. That was one of the biggest decisions in coming here. Talking to those guys in that free agency period, having, like I said, having those conversations and seeing the plan and knowing, and I see that's not something I didn't know. I did not know going into it before talking with them that they were pretty good at developing guys, and they target guys like me that have the stuff and have the ability to get guys out at the big league level and just fine tuning them. So heading into spring training, there's a lot of excitement. Um, almost a little bit more than last season. Obviously, not as much just because I was on the roster with the A's, but I feel like I'm in a very similar position to where if I get that opportunity, it'll be really good.
Right now, you have the sinker cutter sweeper, and I know you have a changeup as well, but it looks like the sinker cutter sweeper is like the primary mix. Is that right?
Yeah, that is primary. There are two new pitches. I mentioned a splitter. That is something that I've toyed with in the past, and when you watch, and I told the Pirates guys this, it's like you watch the World Series, right? And you see guys like Sasaki and Yamamoto and Savage, and these guys are just they're getting these hitters out with this pitch, and it's like I want to learn this pitch. So it's something that I picked up this offseason. It's gone really well for me. I'm excited to add that to the arsenal. But yeah, sinker cutter sweeper is the bread and butter for now.
What I'm curious about is the sweeper has become super popular nowadays in baseball, and yours is more of like a slow moving sweeper. Was it always like a low 80s, like really dive out of the zone type of pitch, or is that just developed over time?
There's been different phases. There's been when I first learned a sweeper, it was in the Arizona Fall League, just talking with some guys, and I remember throwing it the first time. Like they just told me, "Hey, grab a two seam grip and throw like a sideways curveball." And I'll never forget the first time I threw it. It looked like it moved like 4 feet, and I fell in love with the pitch. And there were times where I experimented with throwing this pitch harder. But overall, I've always been a guy that has been obsessed with watching my pitches move, whether it be the sinker or the sweeper. So it's always had a little bit slower of a profile, but I think that's also something where, we speed that velocity up a little bit on that pitch, make it look a little more like the fastball, and try not to sacrifice too much movement, and it'll be a pretty good one. So always love seeing a lot of movement on the sweeper, though.
No, I like to dive into the mental side of the game real quick. I mean, it's a long season. I pitched in college, so I know what it can be like to, go through tough stretches on the mound. What's something that you do if you're going through a tough stretch in the middle of the season and the dog days of summer that helps you get back on track?
Yeah, I mean, I had the biggest lesson possible this year with being a Rule 5 pick, and it always lingers in the back of your mind. And whether other picks want to admit this or not, but you don't have a lot of wiggle room, right? Like you don't have the ability to be optioned. If you're struggling, you either figure it out, or there's that possibility you get sent back to your team. And that's something that I clearly struggled with this year. I started to have some outings that weren't great, and it creates a little bit of doubt in your mind. You're like, is this like I have to figure this out, or I'll be sent back to my team? I lose this opportunity. So learning from that experience has been massive. I learned it a little bit too late, obviously having been sent back to the Royals and finishing with them, but going through that experience of what failure is like at the big league level and realizing how normal it is. You take a step back when you're not playing, especially in the off season. It's a lot easier to think with a clear mind when you're not playing the game. But learning those lessons of like, there's going to be those games where you're just super excited. You have a really good one. You want to tell everybody, you're getting texts from family how good you did. And there's going to be those games where you're like, you start to doubt yourself a little bit, but those games are so normal. So over the stretch of a season, understanding that it's about consistency. You're going to have 3 really good games. You're going to have 3 really bad games. What's it going to look like in the middle? So going into next year, that's what I'm going to look forward to mentally is how can I keep that consistency in all of those games in the middle and not let those outlier games affect me.
Noah, for the Pirates fans that don't know you, you're newly acquired and you're entering the organization in 2026. What type of player are they getting with Noah Murdock?
They're getting a player that's excited to be where he is. That's for sure. Being able to pick my team and pick my destination for the first time, I'm super excited to wear these colors and to be a part of this team. I think that this team can win games, and I definitely want to be a part of that. So being in that bullpen and coming in after some of the young, talented starters that this team has, is something that I'm really excited to do. So, I know there's been a little bit of chatter on possible spending this offseason. I've had some Pirates fans say, don't get your hopes up, but I do feel like there's something.
Oh, come on.
I do feel like there's something good around the corner for the Pirates. So I'm looking forward to being a part of it.
I love that, man. You got me fired up. I'm excited for the season too, and we're excited to potentially, I don't know, not break, but hear some of that news down to winter meetings next week. But no, I appreciate you joining us. We're really excited for you. Excited to follow your development and potentially see you down in spring training in Bradenton in March. So best of luck to you, and we'll talk soon, man.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates or the steak by the plates and